Good morning, everyone. Wanted to do just a quick sound check, an audio check. This is Brad, one of the facilitators today. If you're online and in a place where you could just acknowledge that you can hear okay by responding with a quick audio, yeah, you're coming through, or no, let me know.
I can hear
Okay, was that?
Sounds good on.
Okay, Scott, I heard you. Morgan, you're coming in real echoey. Yeah, is that Richard? Yeah, loud and clear. Good, thank you.
Brad, is that better?
Is that Irene?
No, this is Morgan.
Oh, that is better, Morgan. Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning. This is Cindy Mattingly. Can you hear me?
Hi, Cindy. Loud and clear. Can you hear us okay?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Good.
Hi, this is Susan Dawkins. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Sounds good.
Good morning, Brad. Dennis is on.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to do it.
Let's see. And Mallory, you're probably on with us. And there's
We should have some nice audio music playing as people come on, so they know that they're on something and it's not just quiet. That'd be good.
Mallory has a great voice.
Yes, she does. I was just about to suggest that.
I was going to say, Kelson has a great point.
All right, Mallory, we need to come up with a duet or something. And
Elevator music. Always.
I guess we could do that for class participation. Anybody want to sing a few bars of something?
On a Monday morning. Nice.
Brad, I think we need to assign Mallory to write a musical. Boot Camp, the musical.
Oh dear.
Oh boy, we're in for a long day.
A very, very long day. Well, I think let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to our Business Development Bootcamp. We are so happy to have you with us and so grateful that you are able to join us online. We really love doing these online courses and we have a lot of fun doing them. So anyway, just wanted to let you know of a few things. A few of you have already used the chat feature and we utilize that quite a bit. So don't be afraid to type things there to ask questions or make comments. However you'd like to do that, you can also raise your hand and we will have you come off mute and you can ask your questions that way. We like for you to stay muted through the course just so that we don't have any background noise and things like that, and then we don't have to mute you on our end. So anyway, I think without further ado, I will just turn the time to Brad and Kelson.
Okay, thank you, Mallory. So that was Mallory Price, and here you see the three of us. And we're also today, we're lucky to have actually a third facilitator that'll join us once in a while, Dennis Berg. Dennis is one of our longtime trainers, lives out in Virginia, and so happens that he's got a day where he doesn't have a real strict deadline on some client work. So he wanted to join and contribute where he can. So we've got a lot of practitioner expertise here today with us, and invite your full participation, questions, comments, anything goes. You know, there's no such thing as a dumb question when it comes to this type of training and learning together, and we'll do the best to make sure we get those answered as we go, even though we're in a virtual environment. So thank you all of you for joining. Dennis, Kelson, Mallory, thank you. Here's how we've broken out this boot camp, and a few of you may have heard of this. We do this live in a classroom setting as well. We spread it out just a little bit more when we do it live because we can, and we can do group exercises, round table, and things like that. It's a little more difficult virtually. So this is the way we've scheduled our online boot camp, and there is work. There are exercises that we'd like you to attack and participate in and tackle between sessions. So you see, we'll talk about the capture portion today, and then we'll give you a break because there's going to be a little bit of an assignment in preparation for proposal management on Wednesday, and then we'll finish up that last part of the boot camp with the proposal writing. So that's the structure. The days, the actual live session days go like this. We'll start at 10 Eastern, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. We'll do instruction and observation and so forth for about an hour and a half, and then we will have a short break in there. So it's not straight hour and a half. Then we'll take a 1 hour period where we're going to ask you to do a little bit of an assignment, an exercise, and take a break. We'll come back for another hour and a half of instruction and discussions with a short break, then another 1 hour break with an exercise, and then we'll wrap up, and we're usually done no later than 4:30 or so. On that last segment. So that 4:30 Eastern might go just a little longer, but not much. So that's the schedule we try to adhere to. But please, the more comments, questions, interactions, the better. Just a couple of guidelines. Again, we encourage you to stay engaged. Raise your hand. There's in your control panel, you're going to see a little hand. You can raise your hand to get our attention, like Mallory said. or you can go down to the chat window and chat in a comment or question. That will get our attention as well. We feel the more involvement, the better. The exercises we ask you to do are leading up to kind of a final exercise on that particular boot camp topic. So we encourage you to do them as we go. And you'll see as we go what we mean. They're not rigorous, too rigorous. I mean, this is a boot camp, but we try to tame it a little bit and not overwhelm you. And then again, each live module, like what we're doing right now, does have a final exercise that we'd like you to complete, and an online quiz or exam, if you will, that refreshes and reviews what we covered. So those are the guidelines, the materials. You should have by now, if you visited Shipley Online, the landing page for our learning management system, yeah, you should have had a link to a lot of materials that you could save and download, including the capture guide, course handouts. There was a case study in there we hope you had a chance to read through and get a little bit familiar with. In your control panel on the Go to Training control panel, there's a little materials tab. There's not a lot of materials in there, but occasionally we will point you there for certain materials. We'll let you know when you need to go there to find those. In the download you did, there were some tools and templates, and of course the case study information. Now Mallory is moderating. She's there. If you have a question, something's not working for you, you don't know where to find something, you can shoot her an email, you can chat in the chat window, and we'll try to get that resolved just as quickly as possible. Now, rather than go into the capture guide right now, I just want to encourage you on a break, preferably one of our early breaks today. Find the proposal guide on Shipley Online, or excuse me, the capture guide. Click into it, open it up, and go to the table of contents. Just scroll down, go to the table of contents, and you'll see the topics that we cover in the capture guide. This is a fantastic long-term tool for you to use personally and with your teams, with your company, your organization. If you want to know what industry best practices, let's say, for example, around forming a capture team, well, there's a section on that, and it gives you some really good ideas on what other organizations are doing. These aren't things Shipley came up with and made up. These are best practices that we've learned over the last 40 years or so of doing this type of work with our clients. We've been the one to compile it, put it in print, and publish it. In your download folder, you should have seen some documents like this that you can hopefully use just saved into a Shipley training folder or something. We will be referring you to some of these for your work during the boot camp. So if you haven't done that yet, you can do that on a break, but it'll end up looking something like this, where you'll see these various documents. For example, right here, ESG case study. That's the case study that we're going to be basing a lot of our learning on these next, well, throughout the week, really. It gives a sales opportunity. It tells a little bit about the competition, the customer, so you'll want to get familiar with that. And then there's a lot of tools. These two primarily, this is a really good capture template. If you're looking for a capture planning template to use in your organization or ideas to refresh yours, that's there. This is similar to a capture plan, but it's in a Word format, more of just a series of word tables that you can use. So this is what you see when you logged in to Shipley Online. This is the home page, the landing page for Shipley Online for this boot camp. And hopefully you've taken care of some of this pre-work. I know a lot of you did self-introductions. Thank you. It helps us get to know you. You shared with us your learning objectives, which was fantastic. This is where, if you haven't done it yet, where my cursor is, This is where you can go and download all of those files with your tools, your handouts, and so forth. So if you haven't done that, do that on a break and you'll be fine. Now up here, this is what you really want to pay attention to as well, is the modules section. Up where my cursor is, there's a modules link. And if you click that link, it takes you into a different page, and it looks like this. And so here you can just linearly down the page, you can see how the course will flow, the boot camp. There were these pre-course assignments. Here's day one, capturing new business. There's the capture guide right there. You can save it down right from there. And this is what we'll be talking about today in Capture, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and the assignments. You can see that with each lesson, there's an assignment, and we'll explain that as we go. So that's how that works, is in the learning management system. So get familiar with it. Follow along. You don't have to follow along on the landing page though during the live session. You might just have it open in a second window to go to it at a later time. Okay, let's dive back into the make sure you know how to navigate. I think many of you, we've been working virtual so long, you should be fairly familiar with this or something like it as far as a control panel. You can control your audio here. Raise your hand is here. The handout materials, you open that with this little, hit the plus sign and it opens it. Chat, you can type in a chat message here and send it by hitting send. And you can choose whether you just want to send it to Mallory, Kelson, Dennis, and I, or the whole group. And we encourage you to chat back and forth amongst the group. So that's how you chat. All right, let's find out what you all wanted to learn. I didn't get all of these put on here, but I'm just going to go through these kind of quickly. Learning objectives. These are things that you said you're hoping to get out of this boot camp, and we're going to do our very best to make that happen. So I'm looking forward to a learning process to bring back to my organization to work on stronger proposals. I want to learn the Shipley process, optimize my role as technical editor to impact my team's wins. My objective for the course is to grow in this key area, capture and proposal, so I can improve these skills both for personal professional development and help my company keep growing. I want to learn enough in this class so I can feel comfortable leading capture and proposal activities. Fantastic. I look forward to it. My key objective in taking this course is to gain a full understanding of the bid and proposal process in order to start leading proposals myself with the aim of becoming a proposal manager. Fantastic. We think this will help get you there. Be able to apply the Shipley process in a systematic approach. So you can see we share a lot of learning objectives. And again, if there's something specific you have in mind that we're not addressing at any point, or we address too fast, or you want to go back to, we welcome that. So this is the structure of today. We will first address lesson 1. We'll take the 1-hour break. Lesson 2, which will focus on assessing customers, competitors, bidder comparisons. We'll take a break. And then the last lesson today, we'll go through how do we develop a win strategy on a pursuit? How do we make a preliminary bid decision on whether to keep going or not, price to win, refining the win strategy. We're going to talk a little bit about common solution gaps that we see that capture managers run into that can sometimes stall out a capture effort if we don't have some of these key solution elements in place. And then finally, a capture effort, a capture plan really is not worth much if there's not a real good action plan. Something that's actionable that we can actually take forward. So
Brad,
let's
we
dive
have a-
into, yes,
We
please.
have a hand up. We have a hand up from Laura.
Go ahead, Laura.
I'm sorry, I must have just clicked the button.
Okay.
I apologize.
No worries.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, we'll call you out. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay.
Thanks. No worries. That happens to all of us. All right. Now, I'm hoping, or we're hoping, that you spend a little time in the case study, but we're going to do a 30,000 foot peek at that just to refresh your memory, or for those that didn't quite get to it, go quickly over it. So, because we're going to refer to it, it's easiest when we're on some common ground on a particular opportunity. So, here's the opportunity in the case study. The customer here is Essential Specialty Gear. They're a commission that has been set up within FEMA, and this is artificial. Okay, we created this for the sake of this course, so don't go looking for them on the web. You won't find them. So we're not going to give you. Well, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to go into your materials and take a quick peek at the case study, just the first part. It's labeled like part 1, part 2, part 3. So if you haven't done that yet, take 2 minutes right now and do that. Find that in the materials you downloaded. If you've already looked at it, review it, and we're going to come back together in 2 minutes and we're going to role play. Kelson Dennis and I will be the customer, and you'll be the capture manager, and you'll have a chance to ask us some questions. So I'm going to pause here for a couple of minutes and let you review that case study. Okay. So hopefully this all sounds familiar to you. We, in this course, all of us, except Kelson Dennis and I right now, you all launched a CRM software company quite a while ago. Your initial focus with that business was the retail market. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. So most of you have probably heard of Salesforce.com. Microsoft Dynamics. There's a lot of CRM systems out there that help us track our customers and our relationships with the customers. Hang on here. Let me make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, the CRM demand grew way beyond the retail market, into the public sector. We have a unique, Vibrant has a unique model that is unique to the industry in the way that they implement. They put a on-site transition manager on site with their customers to implement this, do this software implementation. So that's a little bit of history on Vibrant, our company. Your role then in this course and throughout the boot camp, including the proposal management, proposal writing, for now though, you're playing the role of the capture manager. Eventually you're going to be the proposal manager, and then eventually you're going to be more of a contributor, a proposal writer. So for now, today, you are the capture manager. You're experienced. You've sold a lot of public sector, private sector, IT systems integration deals. You manage some of the key accounts for Vibrant. You work out of a home office. You have met actually with the new customer director, the Essential Specialty Gear, at a trade show where you were actually a panelist on a panel discussion. The opportunity we're going after then is, again, we're trying to sell our software into this government commission, this group within FEMA. We're in the early stages of qualifying the opportunity. This is part of capture. We believe it's going to be a competitive bid pursuit, and they're looking for best value, not necessarily low price, and that it will be single award. They will pick one supplier, not a group of them. So again, the commission is actually headquartered in a small resort town, Park City, Utah. It started a long time ago. It's done well and provided service to communities. They focus on getting specialty gear and equipment and supplies out to field offices quickly in the time of need. It could be disaster or emergency. That's their focus. There's been a recent leadership change in the commission. They have a new director. Her name is Jenna Vision. But they're being challenged by their legacy software system just is not meeting the demands right now as they continue to execute. So Jenna Vision is the director. She's discussed with her leadership team the importance of being current in technology, wants to leverage the commission's success, and wants to go to the next level. These are some of their acquisition priorities. I'm going to let you glance through some of these. Think like a capture manager. You're the person trying to make this sale, trying to make this happen. You know a proposal's likely coming around the corner, so you need to know this kind of information and what their priorities are. Competitors. We believe we'll face some of the same competitors we always face when trying to sell our CRM system. A company called Stark. They're very well known in the industry. They're enterprise software. Omega, strong consulting and outsourcing services firm. We also can't ignore their own internal systems that have been built and customized and tailored over all of these years. They are a competitor. They're the incumbent. They employ a lot of people, a lot of jobs, managing their internal current CRM system. So those are the likely competitors. Okay, now you as capture managers, by raising your hand, please ask us a few questions that you would like to know. If you were really the capture manager on this pursuit, after reading through it and this overview we've gone through here, what would you want to ask? What would you want to ask the customer if you got some time with them, either on the phone?
Hand up first from Jennifer, followed by Nora. Jennifer, go ahead.
Sure. So how many companies or retailers or sources do you typically try to keep track of at any given time?
Good question. Yeah, we have over 120 different suppliers and vendors that we're trying to track with different items. So it's become a little unwieldy for us. Great question.
Okay. Nora? I'm probably not pronouncing your name right, but you can come off mute. You've muted yourself on your end. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you. We'll let you play with that. Margaret, I think you're next. You're also on mute on your end. Okay, Margaret says, outside of a sound technical solution, what do you see as the role of the provider?
Really good question. You know, we have been dependent on our legacy system for so long. We're hoping that whoever provides us this CRM and maybe some related technology can actually also advise us. There, you know, for example, as mobile, you know, moves toward 5G and things like that, we have to make sure whatever we do on the CRM side aligns with the other systems properly. So making sure the vendor we select, we want them to be smart enough to help us actually almost digitally transform a little bit. So it's more than just buying an off-the-shelf CRM. We do want that advice. Thanks for asking that.
All right, let's come back to Nora then.
Hello, thanks for your patience. If you could talk a little bit more about your short and long-term goals.
Okay. Yeah, short term is probably the user interface part of what we've discussed before with you all, and making it much easier for our field personnel to request what they need. It's right now it's a little confusing to them with all of our vendors and suppliers, and inventory isn't always accurate. So that immediate end user interface for our field communities is the vital one. Long term, there's been a little whispering about the possibility of FEMA and specifically our commission expanding beyond the states and the territories where we currently have jurisdiction, that there might be some global partnering opportunities to provide what we do in some limited global way. And so long term, we have to think possibly that way as well.
Thank you. Dwight.
Hi there. Could you tell us, a couple things about what you really like about your current system, and then maybe what a couple things that you feel are the most challenging with your current system?
Great question. What we do like about the current system is just familiarity. We not only have legacy systems, we have legacy personnel. So to that extent, there's that benefit. But as needs have, so that's kind of on what we like. I guess would be familiarity. On the things we really are concerned about, again, it's that user interface, which bottom line, it slows response time. So we are not able to respond in a timely way to our field offices and communities. And So it's that response time that really we're not satisfied with.
Great. Okay, Nicole?
Yes. Has your agency been considering any of the current FSS schedules? Because we here at Vibrant are in the process of being onboarded to the GSA FSS Schedule 70 for IT.
We're actually, we have a consultant working with this, and that is a consideration, yes, is looking at that schedule and running the program through GSA and that. So yes, it is I will say it is a possibility.
Okay, let's go to Morgan, followed by Irene and then Carter, just so you guys can get prepared.
Yes, thanks. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how many systems are performing the task that you wish this one system to do, and then how many other legacy systems that won't be workplace have to be able to feed into the CRM.
I don't know about you, Brad. I think I caught about half of that. I don't know, Morgan, how close you are to the speaker part of what you're talking through, but if you could get closer to that, that might help us a bit. Or is that you're close?
Is that better?
Yes, that is. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I'm not very technologically inclined. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about your legacy systems. Are you using more than one system to accomplish the functionality of what the new system will do? And if so, how many systems are you using? And then how many external systems will need to feed into the CRM system, and what are those systems?
Brad, I think you're speaking, but we're not hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Great question. It's kind of a complex answer, but I'll give you the high level. We have 3 or 4 key, what I would call systems that we would like to be interoperable, working together better. We've got the supply chain, the vendor management, inventory management, a financial piece, and then what we would call commonly, CRM, customer relationship management, or customer response and tracking. So there's probably 3 or 4 disparate systems that aren't really doing too well together. We would like them to, if not be perfectly folded into a new CRM and related services that we bring in, for sure we'd like them to work better together. The other thing that complicates this for all of us is that we have to operate within the bounds of FEMA. We can't just be independent, people out there doing our own thing. We have to play within some of the bounds of FEMA, and that frustrates us a little bit. Sometimes it constrains us, and so we can talk more about that going forward. But if you all at Vibrant have any ideas on how you've helped companies or agencies, government or private, we don't care, private sector, bring systems together and leverage your system, we're all ears.
All right, thanks. Irene?
Hi. My question is about how your agency prioritizes the speed of response and the quickness of resolving a client or customer issue versus the quality of ensuring that the issue has been addressed and resolved?
Thank you for that. You know, those are actually two measures that we do track. One is response time itself, the speed, and then the other one is, did we get it right? And unfortunately, right now, that's a lot of manual tracking. I mean, it's a lot of, we've got to compile a bunch of data, put it into some formulas, and come out with some analysis, both on the speed and on the quality. And so we would love that automated more. We think we know what to track, but there's too much room for human error in the way we're doing it. So if your system guidance, coaching, consulting can help us along that way to automate that tracking so we can actually really measure improvement, that'd be fantastic.
Great, thanks. Carter, did you have a question? You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Still no go. Let's troubleshoot with you for a bit. Okay, you texted it. Thank you. So we have two questions, and folks, this will be our last two. We can keep moving on with the course. So first, let's look at the one that came from Waiting for Name. Can you outline any expectations you have on ongoing support, service, and maintenance? And then Carter asked, what kind of past performance will you hope to see in the proposal?
On the maintenance ongoing, we're actually hoping, going to leave that a little bit open-ended when we put out a formal solicitation, if we do. We're actually hoping some of the potential suppliers that we're talking to, like Vibrant, would give us some guidance there. And so we're looking for suggestions on that aspect of our requirements. And I'm sorry, what was the second question?
What kind of past performance are we hoping to see in the proposal?
Yeah, we're going to be looking for. We want to be state of the art. I mean, we want to be. So we're going to be looking for, as I mentioned earlier, past performance in bringing systems that currently don't talk to each other very well together. Where we would like some public sector experience in manipulating and working within government acquisition and contracting and all that goes into that. But we also value suppliers or providers that can get us on the leading edge. And so we'd like to see any past performance, public or private sector, domestic or international, in that regard. Great questions, everyone. So that was really fantastic, and I applaud that. And you'll have a chance to ask some more questions a little later on as we go in your different roles. So thanks for doing that a little later on as we go in your different roles. So thanks for doing that. And we tried to be fair and similar to what a customer might respond. They're going to hold back some information, and they're going to be open book on others. So we tried to simulate a real life situation, and we know that sometimes we just don't have time to do capture work. That an RFP or something comes to us either earlier than we expected, or we really didn't even know it was coming, and we've just got to do our best and bid on it and try and win it. But when we have these opportunities that we actually have been positioning for a while, that are strategic to us, either in value or just the nature of it. We've got to be able to ask those kinds of questions that you all were asking. They were great questions. So let's dive into capture, get grounded on what it is. Sometimes it's used as a verb, the word. It implement strategies by influencing the customer to prefer our organization. I opened that door in the way I answered a few of those questions, you know, to give you a chance to maybe influence our requirements, you know, what we're looking for. Capture planning is a process. It's identifying, assessing, and implementing. Identifying opportunities, assessing the environment, implementing strategies, action plans. Capture strategy, again, it's not a thought, it's not an idea, it's an action to win a specific opportunity. A capture plan is we document everything we know about that customer, about the opportunity, and about competitors. And that's what shapes the plan is, you know, there's a lot of belief. I was on a panel at a trade show a couple of years ago with some other large companies, and we're not a large company. We were the small company on the panel, but you know, the outcome of that panel, after all the discussion and everything, really boiled down to the bidder with the most and best information is probably going to win. Now, that's not always true, but that made a lot of sense. That's why this capture work is so important. So a capture manager or an opportunity manager is the one who usually engages the customer directly to determine needs, start building a business case, create the strategy to go compete and hopefully win. So when we think of ourselves in a capture role, and I appreciated you all taking, those of you that could and had time to self-introduce. You know, a lot of us in this particular boot camp are a little bit newer to business development, capture, and proposal. Some have been doing it for a long time, and so we've got a really nice mix. But as capture, whenever we're in that role, whatever the size of our organization, whether it's nonprofit, education, large business, we've got to be doing all of these things. We wear a lot of hats. You know, we've got to think strategically. We've got to be gathering data and research, analyzing that, making those customer contacts. We've got to have a bit of persuasion in us without being obnoxious. That's probably a rough word. And then we've got to stay close to our team that really is going to develop the solution. And this capture activity we're talking about, this is where it fits within what you've probably heard of as a business development life cycle. So whether it's formal or informal, our organizations go through this process left to right to establish ourselves in markets and compete. You know, the first thing we have to do is segment the markets. Where are we going to compete? Where should we compete based on what we can offer? Then we've got to start positioning ourselves, you know, and this is how Vibrant maybe got in touch with ESG, that agency, by going to a trade show, and they happened to be there, and so we were positioning ourselves long term by doing those kinds of activities. Then we start assessing opportunities, qualifying them. We're going to touch on that a little bit. We plan the capture, the pursuit. Then we move into bid and proposal, which will be the back half of the boot camp. So there's this business development life cycle. I know this looks like a lot, but we have to, as businesses, we have to be thinking a little bit at least about process. We cannot survive long term flying by the seat of our pants. and operating in an ad hoc environment. So this is that life cycle again, and when we look at it broken out into specific activities, this is actually available to you in your materials, in your guides, that the capture guide that you've been given. It will also actually walk you through these various phases, and you can see that with each phase comes a set of activities. Remember, strategy without activity is meaningless. So there's a set of activities we should be doing at each phase in this business development life cycle. And we're not going to dive into these in detail, but these are the kinds of things we need to be thinking of. These next two are specific to capture. All right. At some point, if we are the capture manager, we're going to have to make recommendations to our leadership on go, no go, bid, no bid. And we're the ones doing that in the capture manager role. And then here you see the actual capture phase. So these are the activities we're going to talk about during this phase of the boot camp. What is a blue team review? What is a black hat session? Where should we be doing those and when? Let me do a little poll here, and we're about to take a short break. So let me ask you this. If you'll just enter this in your keyboard, let's see what kind of response we get from this poll question. Go ahead and answer that right on your laptops or keyboards. Kelson, are you seeing the poll results okay?
I am, yes.
Okay. So good. Yeah, we got a little variety of answers. As early as possible was the majority. Jonathan, that's a government quiz. The answer is always D. So yeah, the real answer is as early as possible, and I would put just a little tiny qualifier on that. Once the opportunity is qualified. There are too many times, unfortunately, that we start a formal capture effort on an opportunity that really hasn't been qualified well enough. So that would be the only caveat to as early as possible. As early as possible, I would add once qualified. And for the, go ahead, please.
Yeah, and just as far as that question that Susan asked, just because we see an opportunity doesn't mean it's qualified. So there's some activities that we need to do as part of that process to help make sure it's something that will meet our strategic need, that we have experience in, things like that make it something that we should be going after because it's something that's not a far reach outside of our capabilities. So there's some things that happen with regard to qualifying that we'll also talk about a little bit here today, but it's got to be something that's more than just, hey, here's an opportunity, let's go after it.
Great. So you'll see this a couple of times over this week. this, people say, so what is this Shipley capture approach? What we've tried to do is distill it into this type of a simplified roadmap, if you will. It starts here. It starts with opportunity and customer assessment and the various activities. We've got to do a thorough competitor or competition assessment as well. Sometimes we fall short, run out of time, don't have resources, but that's critical. We've also got to do an honest internal assessment. What really are our capabilities, and what does the customer think of us? What are their perceptions of us? And then this is the big one. We've got to develop the win strategy. This is all on us as capture managers, and we have to develop that action plan. So if someone asks you to show them a visual of what's this Shipley methodology when it comes to capture, these are really the 5 main components, if you will. If you want to distill it down even further, you can laser focus on this. We've got to do a competitor analysis, customer analysis. We've got to develop action items to compete and put that into a plan and execute on it. So that's capture simplified, if you will. Bottom line though, this is it. We are trying, if we're unknown to a customer in a specific industry, in other words, if Essential Specialty Gear knew nothing about Vibrant, and here they were shopping for a CRM system, for one, shame on us that we're not better known or more visible to them. But we might have to move from an unknown position, and then they come to a trade show, they meet us, they introduce. We want to advance this to where if we actually have to do a formal bid, we want to be at least in an improved position because we've asked the customer great questions like you all did to us. Ideally, we'd like to be in a favored position for some reason. Maybe we're the only CRM system that offers some certain feature that we know they want. That would maybe bump us to a favored position. So this is the path we want to go from in our organizations. Sometimes, unfortunately, we've got to start here as unknown, identify the opportunities, and then good capture work is what elevates us and brings us forward. This is the last thing we'll do, and I'm going to give you a 10-minute break. I'll leave this up on the break because it's a lot of information. But what we've done here, for those of you where capture maybe is something new to your company or your organization or you're moving toward, here's a list of primary and secondary responsibilities that are typically assigned to a capture manager. So I'll leave this up during the break. You can take a look at this. So take a break. There's no exercise or anything to do. Just get caught up, grab a cup of coffee, and I'll set a timer. We'll reconvene then in 10 minutes and we'll pick this back up. you noticed on the roles and responsibilities of a capture manager that one of those had to do with decision gates. And so I've asked Kelson to talk us through some of the aspects of what a capture manager should at least be aware of, if not be actively involved in, when it comes to what we call these key decision gates during the pursuit life cycle. Kelson, would you walk us through this?
Sure, happy to do so. So with the business development lifecycle slides that that Brad showed previously, the thing that helps us move between those phases are these decision gates. And that's not a decision that we make alone or that we make lightly. So across that lifecycle guide, there are these 6 gates. So for each one of them, there's things that move along from our gate 0, which is understanding what our key markets are. So we determine what we want to what markets we want to target that align with our strategic goals. After we have identified our market segments, we start looking at some of the long-term positioning and things that we do with our potential clients in that area, some of the things that they're looking at doing, and then we may be able to identify some more specific opportunities. So here is the situation where we make a decision. Are we interested in maybe pursuing this in more detail? We're not qualified yet, but we are interested in possible opportunities. So this says, okay, let's focus a little bit more on this, on a specific opportunity. So as we do some exploration, we start qualifying this opportunity to see if it's something that we need to spend more time and effort on to do a formal capture activity. Now, doing some of these things they're not inexpensive. As we get into capture, we involve more people, more resources doing some work. So we want to make sure that things that we're pursuing are valuable to go after. So after we get through that, we start to initiate a formal capture opportunity. We look to make sure that through that process of capture that we have positioned ourselves to win. With that, if you remember that graphic that Brad showed that has a curving arrow going up with 4 bulbs on it, that we're trying to get from an unknown position to a better known position to a really good position to win. As we do that, if this is continuing down that pipeline of, yes, this is something that we need to continue to pursue and bid on now, because we may have an opportunity proposal-wise to bid on. That's what that gate is for. After the preliminary bid gate, we get to, we're doing proposal planning and activities, getting to where we are looking at, okay, the final request for proposal may be out, and we're looking to make sure that everything that we've done during capture and planning so far is reflected still in the documentation that we're receiving from the customer. So when that final document comes out, we look to see if anything has changed from what we've heard from the customer prior to this point, and are any of those things things that would prevent us from being able to win. So then, of course, after putting a proposal together is when we submit. So we evaluate again if this is something that we are going to submit on for sure. It is possible that during the process that some other things may come up during the proposal phase that like amendments or something to a solicitation that may make it untenable for us to bid. So we don't specifically have to submit, but we want to make sure that if we do, that things are aligned for us as we've moved forward. So these decision gates, if we turn them on their side here, we look at opportunities coming into this funnel and specific decisions along the way that, as capture managers, we're not making that decision. We're contributing to the decision-making process, but it's made by, those decisions are made by key management people about are we going to continue forward and spend money on these things? And then continue to go forward there. So the potential actions that may occur at each of these decision gates are all of these here. We may have the opportunity or the decision to, yes, let's advance, let's proceed. We start the next phase. So whether it be with funding or staff or anything like that, that's what advance may mean. We may choose to archive the decision package for a bit there. We may choose to defer and maybe not making that decision yet. So identifying other things that we need to get answers to before we can effectively make that decision. Or we may end pursuit specifically and then redirect resources on other pursuits. And we want to always document lessons learned along the way, things that we're finding out that'll help us to be more successful on future engagements. So quick and dirty coverage of decision gates. Anybody have questions about that?
Thanks, Kelson. You know, sometimes these are really, really fast decisions that have to be made. You know, especially if we're bidding task orders or things like that. You know, where we've already qualified to a point. Now we just need to submit. But it's really important for us as organizations to establish a qualification decision gating process. This is where too many companies shortchange and lose some of that the discipline. So thanks for walking through that. There's a great for long-term reference in the capture guide that you have. There's a whole section on this, which is really fabulous. Wanted now, okay, we've talked about the role of a capture manager and specifically one key role, which is being involved in those decision gates. There's something else we wanted to bring up. Just I think we're all aware of this, but sometimes we don't stop and actually talk about it or address it. And that is, we're in a very unusual selling environment right now, not only because of the pandemic situation, but even before that. The last several years, things have changed significantly in the customer and supplier relationships and so forth. So it's important that we understand the current environment. For example, whether it's a government organization or if we're selling business to business, there are some harsh attitudes out there about business development and salespeople. You know, and maybe rightfully so. You know, maybe we've earned that reputation, but there's some pretty harsh attitudes out there about business development, selling, positioning, all that. Changing technology and communication dynamics is amazing. The whole social media platforms, the collaborative workspaces we have, the way we can glean competitor intelligence now more easily, more and better information about the buyer and the seller is readily available. If someone's coming to me wanting to sell Shipley some kind of product or service, I'm checking them out. Not just their company, I'm checking them out personally. Trust is becoming a little harder and harder to earn on the business development side. And even now, given the fact that we can't necessarily call on customers and build relationships, at least temporarily, you know, how do we establish trust in this environment that we're in? So the paradox of all of this is that really, when it boils right down, we all want the same thing. The customer and we want the exact same thing. Vibrant wants to provide ESG the exact solution they need, yet it's so difficult. You know, they're just roadblocks all the way across, whether it's this environment we just talked about, or bureaucratic acquisition challenges, or whatever it is. there's some things that make it very, very difficult. So I sometimes use this word dysfunction, that there's somewhat of a dysfunctional relationship between the buyer and the seller, the vendor and the customer, the supplier and the customer. And I would ask you all just to chat in your chat windows for a few minutes. Why is this? Why is there this tension or dysfunction between buyer and seller in our culture, in our environment? Chat in your chat window why you think that is. And Dennis, you're willing to, you're completely open to chiming in as well.
Laura, do you have your hand up to answer?
I wanted to put something in the chat window, but I just think there's so much misinformation out there that it creates a lot of confusion. And
Great
no
point.
one feels like they can trust anything they're reading or seeing.
Good point.
Yeah. Jason says people have had bad experiences and they project that onto sales. Yep.
So many companies. Yeah, everybody promising the moon.
Aggressive behavior because of the fierce competition. Yeah. Great comments. Yeah, so it's there, it's real, and we've got to deal with it and try to overcome it. But yeah, lack of trust, bad. You guys came up with all of these, you know, the misinformation causing confusion. If we're selling to the government, let's be honest. Understanding their requirements and expectations isn't always easy. Politics, regulation, protests. You know, we've all been high pressured at some point in our life and generally despise it. You know, and sometimes the customer they know about our dirty laundry. You know, they have a past performance report or something that you know we would rather is private, but it's public. So yeah, just I want to put that out there because that's all part of it. That's all part of being a capture manager, is to realize what we're up against sometimes. As we go into this idea of identifying qualifying opportunities, I want to keep that in the back of our mind as far as the decision gating, the roles and responsibilities, and the environment we're in. So as we go about identifying programs and opportunities and qualifying them, we've got that in mind. So when it comes identifying opportunities, this is a really broad subject, and we have such a diverse group of companies and organizations in classes like this that we do publicly like this. This is hard work, you know, and there's a variety of ways to go about identifying, and one is, was mentioned earlier, getting on some of these government-wide contracts, these GSA contracts that allow government customers to acquire our products or services so much easier. So if we are selling into the government, you know, looking for OTA opportunities or GSA opportunities that might shrink the sales cycle a little bit is a fantastic idea. But you know, there's databases, there's subscription services we can subscribe to that track government contracts and upcoming opportunities and when they expire and who's competing. You know, the GovWin, Deltek, for example, and others. We should have some marketing activity going on in our own organization. You know, depending on who we are, there might be lobbying, networking, of course, news, websites, annual reports are a pretty good path to knowing some of the strategies. Of course, websites, relationships, A lot of these CRM systems that we're kind of using in the role play here, they have lead generation and proactive marketing campaigns. So as we read in the case study, one of the ESG key personnel she's responsible for community outreach and setting up outreach programs. Well, a CRM would be a great way to set up automated outreach campaigns. So when we're identifying opportunities, there's a lot of directions we can go. It takes work and strategy and to figure out the best way. And of course, if we are on GSA schedules and we have those vehicles at our disposal, learning to leverage those and to take advantage of those opportunities that fall within that schedule. Let's talk for a minute about qualifying, engaging the customer. It's a little different now than it was 3-4 months ago, but hopefully we'll return to where there can be a little more face-to-face interaction, a little more engagement, person to person. But here are some ideas. As capture managers, we are generally, I won't say we are always, we generally are the ones interfacing with the customer or customer representatives. So here are just some thoughts, and you all did so good in that opening exercise. When we opened it up for questions, I was super impressed that it's as though you did do this, and maybe some of you did. Plan and develop questions ahead of time. We may only get one chance. We may get one chance and one chance only to talk to that customer and ask questions. So we need to be ready. We need to plan. If we would have been live in a workshop setting face-to-face, I think we would have seen probably more of this. And the idea is ask follow-up questions. And I'll bet you a lot of you that ask questions to us had follow-up questions you wanted to ask, but you were being courteous and letting the next person go. So just this is key to customer engagement. Not only plan our questions, but then what? Can you tell me exactly how that might look? Looking for those hidden underlying issues. And then just listen, clarify, and listen some more. We tend to want, as capture managers, as business developers, we tend to want to do most of the talking and tout our features, tout our past performance, our key personnel, and we don't spend nearly enough time asking questions and listening. It's the same with job interviews. I mean, you all have probably seen it in human resources, talent people. There's good ones and there's a lot of not so good ones that do employee interviews. The whole point of interviewing someone is getting them to talk and listening. But so many of us, when we interview a new prospective employee, we do all the talking and tell how great our company is and this and that, and we don't listen. So listen. Drill down, peel the onion. Again, I know a lot of you would have done this, but just keep asking a few questions. Don't be annoying, but keep peeling that onion back till we really get to the questions that maybe no one else gets to. Who are the stakeholders? Why would they buy from us? Is there really a budget? Is it funded? All valid questions that we could be asking. Absent the ability to ask in person, sometimes it has to be in writing, and we'll talk about asking questions after the RFP is out. This idea of no guessing, I hope you walk away from this boot camp with this on your mind, that oftentimes we get in trouble in business development because we guess. We think we know what the customer wanted. What they say and what they mean aren't always clear, and they're not always the same thing. So if a customer says that they want quality, all right, well, we want a quality CRM system that's just really going to be good about tracking our supplies and our community response. Quality. What in the world is quality? So we've got to peel that onion. You know, we've got to be smart enough and assertive enough to peel that onion and find out exactly what they mean when they say quality. Another point, when we're interfacing, engaging with the customer as capture managers, these are a couple of keywords too that I would hope you would remember that we don't always think about: evidence and impact. When we're engaging with a customer in writing, in person, virtually, however it is, they have a problem, or we probably wouldn't be talking to them. There's an issue or a problem. We want to look for evidence, and we want to ask the customer, can you give me an example of what happened when you had slow response time in North Carolina to that tragedy? And let them tell you the evidence of that problem. Then you want to drill down, what was the impact? How many lives were at risk, put at risk? What happened? What was the impact of that challenge or problem? So you can do it for past problems or issues or the current problem. Evidence and impact. So when we're clarifying, when we're qualifying, always look for evidence, ask questions to draw this out of the customer. Who or what is impacted by this issue of a slow response time? When does this show up the most? How does this affect your long-term vision as an agency, as an organization? Jenna, in your new role as director, how is this going to impact you personally, this decision on which CRM system to go with? These become business discussions. We start building a business case. This is how we go from unknown to favored. Customers love it when a vendor, a supplier gets to the heart of the matter and can really talk problem solution. So once we have that evidence, we want to go for impact. How do you, and you all did this, this was perfect. Some of your questions today were just so perfect. How do you measure the impact of slow response on your organization or on your community? What's the impact now? What would you like it to be? You all asked this question. What would be the ideal response time? What would it be worth to you or your agency or the citizens of the United States if you could solve this problem? Evidence, impact, evidence, impact. Sorry to drill that in, but it's so important and so overlooked. So this decision gate that Kelson talked about, this gate one, it's an interest decision. Do we have enough information? Have we built a strong enough understanding of the opportunity that we want to go forward, that it warrants further resources? And I won't go through this now. This is just a really good checklist for you. And in your materials, we've provided you several decision gate questions. But I would challenge you to take these and add to them, make them your own for your own organization. You know, if we can't answer these questions and there's a whole bunch of lingering, well, we're not sure, we don't know, we'll have to check on that. That's a problem. We better think twice before spending a lot more company money on going after that opportunity. Okay, want to introduce you to this concept and a tool that you have. That, again, you're welcome, and we invite you to take these tools and make them your own. so they work for you. This idea of PWin, probability of winning. This might be new to some of you. It's becoming a fairly common term in industry and business development. It really hinges on these 4 levels, if you will. And so I'm going to call this, for lack of a better term, the PWin pyramid. We've got to know the customer. We've got to assess competitors. We have to look at our internal capabilities. What really can we do? Can we really differentiate or discriminate from competitors? And then the final area is, do we have a true value proposition, including have we taken a look at our price to win and the cost? The cost to compete, the price to compete, and the price to win. Those are the 4 layers, if you will, of probability of win. So what we've given you in your materials, and you're going to have a chance to play with this on the break coming up here soon, is we've provided you a Capture Manager workbook. It's simple. It's in Excel. You can tailor it. But one of the tabs there is a PWin calculator. I'm going to jump into it and open it up for just a minute. So if you, hopefully you can see on my screen, on this tool, the Capture Manager workbook, there's a few tabs across the bottom. The first 2 have to do with the PWin calculator. And then later today, we'll talk about the bidder comparison. And then there's a couple of blank action plan scheduling tools, simple in Excel. What we want to show you right now, though, is this probability of win calculator. So here you see the calculator part of it. Before we dive into that, let me go to the first tab. It's the probability of win parameters. Here are the instructions up here in red. And so again, you can make this your own eventually once you're familiar with it. So what we have here, see where my cursor is? There's PWin factors. And for the sake of a template, a starting point, these are the PWin factors that we've put there for you to start with. What's been our pre-RFP marketing campaign? What's the customer's preference? Do they have one? What's their knowledge of us? How about technical? Where do we stand? Our management, cost, incumbency. Are we the incumbent? Do we know the incumbent? Do we know their experience? Past performance, contract risk, contract size, competitor rating, and then you can add your own. Those are called the win factors. Then with each win factor, you go into those, and as you see in this little gray pop-up box, you now make statements that will be scored. You pick a statement that gives a high score, a 4. You pick a statement that warrants a 3, a 2, a 1. So each statement can either favor you with a 4, or it can put you at a low PWin, like, oh, we learned about the opportunity after the RFP was released. That's only going to get 1 point on the calculator. All right. So each one of these win factors has a win factor rating statement. Okay, with that in mind, bounce over with me to the calculator. So now there's the win factors. You see those win factors that we just talked about from the other tab. Let's come back to the weighting. Let's not worry about that yet. And here's the win factor rating. So pre-RFP marketing. If I click in this box, there's a little drop down, and there's those 4 statements. We have extensive pre-RFP contact with this customer and strongly influenced the requirements. If that's true, click it and you'll get a 4. Awesome. Customer's preference. You click in the box, there's drop down choices. The customer shows evidence of strong preference to us. Nah, the customer's unbiased with really no preference for any company. That's where we think we're at. Okay, it gave us a 2. So you go through, you answer, and then at the end of the day, it gives you this, it tallies that up. If you want to give more weighting to a specific area, let's say that someone asked about past performance earlier this morning. Let's say that I would have said, oh, past performance is everything. We're going to put more evaluation weight on that than anything else. You could go in here and give it a 0.2, and it's going to give it a 20% higher weighting for past performance than any of these other scores. Or a 0.1 would give it a 10% more weighting. So you can use that to weight, and the instructions are there if you just mouse over it. So that's the PWin calculator, and it's a tab on the Capture Manager workbook for you. There are 2 other tools that you have, not in the workbook but separate. There's a capture plan template in PowerPoint, and it looks like this. So you can just go through and fill out a capture plan in PowerPoint, which a lot of companies really prefer. There's also a capture planner in Word, just a set of tables where you can enter the opportunity, the description of the opportunity, customer overview. You can list out decision makers, their role, their hot buttons, competitors. So it's the same as the PowerPoint, it's just in Word and in Word tables. Those are in your toolkit as well. So be aware of those. They're for you to use to make your own. Whichever tool you use, remember these 4 items. We've got to do our part as capture managers to be as complete as possible. Populate. Whether it's a web-based capture plan, PowerPoint, Word, it doesn't matter. Populate. Get the information in there. Then we should constantly be validating that information, updating the information, and execute. Implement the action plans that we said were so important as part of our win strategy. So gather the information, get it in place, validate it, keep it up to date, and then do what we say we're going to do. Why use a capture plan? Because it works. If we're ad hoc on every single opportunity, we're at risk and we're likely wasting company resource. So a capture plan will make us think better. It imposes discipline, builds consensus with our internal team and our teaming partners, very important. It will transfer information from our sales. We may have a separate BD sales team that's pre-capture, that really feeds qualified opportunities to capture. So this is a chance to transfer that information. It helps us identify gaps in our strategy and capabilities. I promise it will save time and money and eliminate or reduce waste, and we'll stand a better chance of winning. We'll improve our PWin. What have we included in our capture plan templates? It's these things. So when you go into those templates, these are what you're going to find. The same things we've started talking about, we'll work through the rest of today. Of course, the action plan and the schedule is a big part of it. Okay, this lesson 1 this morning, this first part, let me just summarize a couple of key points. We have to, within our organizations, agree upon roles and responsibilities. What is capture? Apply discipline. Kelson talked us through those decision gates, very important. Identify and qualify opportunities with rigor. What are we looking for? We're looking for evidence and impact. Peel that onion, drill down deep. Don't guess and think we know the answer when we really don't. Keep checking the P-win. It's important we track the P-win. If we measure P-win today, what is it next Monday and the next Monday? If we can't see improvement, we might have a problem. Be aware of the decision gates. Use some kind of planner, whether it's web-based, paper-based, PowerPoint-based. Track the information. I want to throw this out there if you would like as an optional exercise. This isn't required, but it's fun to be able to share this as a class group. If during any of our breaks during the whole boot camp, if you ever want to go into the capture guide or the proposal guide, which you'll get Wednesday, and pick a topic, it's topical based. It's not a how-to A to Z. It's just by topic. Pick a topic, read it, and then post in our discussions back on Shipley Online, the learning management system. There's a place where you can post comments about the capture guide and share. Oh, I learned these 3 things about the executive summary when I read it. So optional exercise. This is not optional. We'd like everyone to do this. This is your first assignment. I'm going to give you a full hour break to do this and to get caught up on a few things. We'd like you to go find the Capture Manager workbook, become familiar with it. We would like you to go into the P-win calculator tab. And based on the case study and that Q&A session we had earlier today, and information from part 1 of the case study, we'd like you to determine, there's no right or wrong answer here, your probability of win right now for Vibrant, based on what we know. Provide this P-win in the discussion. You're going to see under lesson 1 assignment on Shipley Online, you're going to see a place to enter your thoughts and your P-win. So I got a P-win of 2.67, and here's why, and here's what I think we need to do to raise it. Just something that simple. So you'll find that under lesson 1 of Capture. Enter your P-win, go through it. Here's an option though. If you're working a live pursuit and you want to play around with that P-win tool on a live deal that you're working and go ahead and answer all those questions, pre-solicitation market, customer preference, their knowledge of us, technical, man. If you want to do that on a real deal, that's fine too, if you're working a live pursuit. And then one more thing to do during the hour, under lesson 1 assignment, you're going to see it says buyer behavior video. There's about a 7 or 8 minute video clip. We'd like you to click on, listen to, and then comment on. There's a place where you can actually comment on what you saw in that video and what you think about it and the ideas and the thoughts portrayed in the video. So there's the assignment. Go through and do a P-win calculation on the case study, watch the video, post your comments on both in the discussion tab, and get caught up on some of your other things, and we'll reconvene in 1 hour. I'll set the timer so we'll know when to come back. Are there any questions? Anybody? Any questions about the assignment, about what's expected? Okay, you guys are awesome. All right, 1 hour break from now, and we'll come back then. Have a good break.